Greenville, South Carolina, where progress seems to have a southern accent. They say it's one of the South's best kept secrets. Charming, vibrant, and full of surprises. But what's beyond this polished veneer? Let's find out if this place is more than just a pretty waterfall. Nestled at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Greenville is a city in motion. Once a quiet mill town, this city is now a hub for food lovers, creatives, and people looking for something a little more. Almost every city has a centerpiece. And for Greenville, it's right here. The Reedy River Falls, where nature meets ingenuity, and where the city shows off its best side. All right, for those of you who have been following this channel for a while, you're probably thinking, Mike, what the hell are you doing? So just to be honest with you, I came down here with every intention of flying the drone. And I'm a little disappointed because I got approval. The challenge I have with my drone, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, is that I get FAA approval on Part 107, but I was flying as a recreationalist flyer, and I got approval to fly here up to 100 feet, instant approval. Got a screenshot of that and everything. But the problem is the controller for the drone senses that this is Class C or D airspace, and it won't let me take off. And in order for me to get the approval into the controller, it has to have internet connection, and I have Wi-Fi on my phone, but it doesn't connect to the controller. It's very confusing the way they have this thing set up. I gotta really figure that out because I've been missing out on some good flights. But hopefully I found some file footage somewhere, Creative Commons or something on Storyblocks that I can use, because this place is really pretty. That's one thing. Anyway, I did that corny little opening. I hope you like it. Obviously I didn't write that, and I'm not really good on-screen talent for scripted bits like that, but we're going with it. Anyway, I want to take the tripod out, shoot a long exposure of the waterfall down here, and yeah, so check it out. This place up on the right, this place called the Bohemian Lodge. I had dinner here last night. I was going to photograph the food, but there's a lot of people at the bar that I was eating, and I would look like a dork. The restaurant upstairs is called Between the Trees, and then the bar on this lower end here is called Spirit and Bower. This is the outside seating area for the bar. There's some tables that overlook the water in the park. So again, I'm right outside of the hotel, right at the base of the footbridge. You can see off in the distance, if it's not blown out, there's where I'm staying, the Hampton Inn right there. You can see why I chose this area. Kind of wanted to be in the middle of things. And to be perfectly honest with you, I wanted to capture drone flights, images very similar to this. But you know what? I had a word for this year, and the word was shift. And I applied it today. I quickly shifted my focus. Try not to get too upset about what I couldn't do. And quickly shifted to what I could do. And that was chat with a complete stranger that walked up. I'll tell you about that in a second. It's funny, I mentioned him as I was crossing the bridge and I ran into him again. I just want to remember his name was Walter. And the lady he was with, her name is Lynn. And I just gave him a couple of cards. Hopefully they'll check out the channel and be able to see this episode when I upload it. It's going to be a while from now. Getting back to the drone thing, I was a little disappointed. And again, my word of the year is shift. And I just quickly shifted my focus. When he walked up, he asked, he goes, you fly that often down here? I says, to be honest with you, I can't. For some reason, my app isn't talking to the controller. There's just a whole technical reason why I couldn't, even though I got approval. But I just put it down, packed it up, and just started asking him some questions. And we talked for a good half hour about this area. And what I didn't realize, and I should have, there's always a different perspective. Let me get this shot here real quick. Got these little benches here to give you this primo views here. Again, there's always a different perspective from somebody who's lived here all of his life. Most of his life. I think he said he's lived in Daytona a while. And he had a concession business down on the beach. I says, I bet you've met a lot of characters there. He's like, oh yeah. But, you know, the bridge that I walked over used to be a 4-lane bridge for traffic. And as always, it's like, change is not always a great thing. It's your perspective. This whole area has been gentrified to the point where it's unaffordable to live down here for most. This whole area down here used to be essentially mill town with, as he gets run over by 2 joggers, with businesses that were being powered off of the water mills of all sorts, I guess. This one over here was one he was telling me about too. It was one of the older buildings. It's a view from my room. It's being gutted, turned into, not sure what, maybe a hotel. Anyway, we talked about all sorts of things, values of property, both here and other places in the country, and he was in his 70s. They both referred to me as the youngin'. But I just saw him again. We chatted briefly, kind of did a wrap up of what we were talking about before. I talked to Lynn for a little bit too. I guess she's kind of a vagabond at heart also. And we just talked about the importance of connection and meeting people and having conversations like that. It's really, the older you get, the more you realize how precious that is. And that's kind of what life's all about, is connection. Again, a tie-in to another thing I want to focus on this year is connection. It was a moment, several moments, I just wanted to grab my camera and video him, get a couple of his thoughts for the story. But again, sometimes when you're in the moment of having those conversations, it's kind of awkward to grab the camera. But anyway, I treasure those moments. Thanks, Walter. Thanks, Lynn. I hope you enjoyed the episode of Greenville. So just a quick little wrap up from this morning. I'm trying some new things, as you could see. Maybe not successfully. Again, the beginning of this day was a little bit of some scripted stuff that I had ChatGPT help me out with. I've been trying to, as I go to these small towns, and not successfully, but I've been trying to have it script out a little bit of a storyline for me. And I haven't really, for the last 4 cities I went to, I haven't really used any of that. Get some B-roll suggestions and some voiceover dialogue and some on-camera narration stuff to do. I'm real bad with reading a script on camera. I'm better at doing the voiceover stuff because I can, to be honest with you, edit the hell out of it to make it sound good. Sorry for the bad reflections. I had mentioned some of the work they're doing down here. As you can see, this is a little band shell. They probably have little concerts and community events and stuff. And then this is a little shell of something. Both this building in the foreground and the one back there, and the ones over there that they're working on. Not sure what they're doing, but it's a lot of construction. Below here, and to my right is where all those artists, I guess, little shops are. I'd love to interview a couple of them. People down there. But anyway, I kind of started out with a little bit of I don't know, something I'm experimenting with. I know it's a mess. My friend Frank would be like, dude, that was awful, man. You need me to write your stuff. You need me to produce your travel shows. He said it before, and I know you're thinking it right now, Frank. I just want to mention I enjoyed the conversation again with Walter. That's the sort of thing that just, you don't plan. AI doesn't predict. You have no idea what's going to happen or how the days are going to unfold. But when it does, that's what you're going to remember. That's what I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember my trip down around the bridge, and it won't be for a drone flight or a drone flight that I wasn't able to take. Again, longer story. But it was my conversation with Walter, and I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. We used to always go over to our neighbors, Thelma and Nelson Folsom, were their names. And I can remember sitting on the patio, and they seemed like they were 1,000 years old, but they were probably my age when I was a kid, maybe a little older. And I used to just love to just sit there and listen to them talk about anything. And it was because they always had these stories of whatever it was. They were telling stories of their past, or they were just, encouraging, and they helped me with my homework and my extra credit stuff on occasion. They were a wealth of knowledge, but I think you can always learn something from other people if you take the time. And that's one of the things that I'm grateful for this year for me. Is I was talking to my sister about this yesterday on the phone. I'm really, really, really grateful that I not only have the time this year, but I've decided to take the time to maybe learn more about there's a chiming. Oh, you know what it is? I figured it out. I'm going to show you in a second. I was wondering what it was last night, because what time is it now? Is it on the hour? Yeah, it's like 10 o'clock. Let's just show you what I'm talking about right now. Can you see them, those little bells? Probably not because of this reflection. It's like a tower of bells. Right there. Can you hear the bells? Really bad footage, Mike. Again, I'm grateful for the time that I not only decided to take, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to take. in my life, to maybe grow a little bit more as a human. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I'm about to leave the city now and head off to a place called Travelers Rest. I have a little bit of a cool itinerary lined up for today. Gonna take me on some scenic drives here. The weather's gorgeous and there's a lot to see around here. I'm gonna miss this view. What a great sunrise. A great time here spent in Greenville. We'll go cruise down by Main Street, check it out on the way out of here, and then it's off to a place called Travelers Rest. Let's go. I see my rides here. This is us just recording the geese down here in the river, and had when you're recording with this little camera, this little Osmo, people have questions, shall we say. So anyway, the guy asked me what it was I was recording into. And we started chatting again. I gotta tell you, some of the nicest people I've met on my trip, on my series of trips throughout the country, have been in Greenville, South Carolina. We just chatted for like another half hour. I should have recorded them, I didn't. I got their names and I've immediately forgot them, but they live down here. They gave me a little bit of a history of the immediate area here. It's like a performing arts center over here. Getting a phone call. I'll be back with you. Right across the water is the Peace Performing Arts Center. I was talking to a couple a few minutes ago, and they told me what's happening to this place here. They're turning it into a smaller performing space. Maybe a 2,000 seat space. Multi-use building. Could be rented out for events and things. Geese seem to be enjoying the water today. I was talking a little bit to the last couple about this area here, this Artist Row. Again, I grabbed a few cards last night. I think looks like I captured this or arrived to this place at the wrong time. Looks like everybody's closed. Would love to chat with one of these artists here about what makes things tick for them as a creator. I'm particularly interested in this place here, Chris Bruner Photography. He has some nice work in here. For me, the Hampton Inn was a great place to home base myself because it was right down in the area that I wanted to visit the most. And again, one of the reasons I decided to come to Greenville was for what I saw as a really unique creation, play, a mix with nature, or a mix of nature and contemporary architecture. It's like nowhere else I've ever been, actually. I've really enjoyed my time here. So again, I stayed at the Hampton, and right across the way is this parking garage. Very convenient place to self-park your car. And again, it's a little cheaper than the old 5-star, what do they call it, the lodge down there. It's right on the waterfall. But I still went there to grab a bite to eat and got to enjoy the art. And, really met some interesting people here. Could I see myself living here? Actually, I could. But I don't. I lived here for a day, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, off to somewhere new.
I can't find the right words. If I could, I'd write them down. Turn them into a song to keep you something to sing about. Can't find the right color, it won't be the perfect.
How about that windshield, huh? Just a note to self, I need to clean that thing off next time. Or mount it on the outside of the car like I've done several times. Anyway, I want to kind of tee up this next little segment here. I'm going to wrap this thing up in about 8 or 10 minutes, but I did have a little bit of a chat to camera as I was leaving the town. Made a few comments about some of the stuff I was seeing. I really did have a good time here in Greenville, or enjoyed it. And again, saw this place as somewhere I might consider moving, maybe. Or at least I could live here. Boy, if it snowed here and had really nice fall and it was not humid in the summer, I'd probably be there already. I don't know, I'm still looking for a place. Have any ideas? Text in, let us know.
I've been hearing from everybody, and everybody that lives here is so nice. It's a safe town, and there's just a good vibe here. If it didn't get as hot as it does in Florida in the summer, I might seriously think about this area because it's close to the mountains. It's closer to New York. It's exactly what I'm looking for. It's got a mix of, it's got great restaurants. It's got a nice scenic downtown with a waterfall. Everybody I talked to have had nothing but positive things to say about this place. This area here reminds me of the 500 block on Clematis in West Palm Beach, with a little 2-story preserved buildings, older buildings. Looks like it could be apartments or lofts upstairs, and little shops below, grills, coffee shops, candy shop there, furniture store. This has been stretching on here for a couple blocks. There's a flower shop. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Every single space is rented out, utilized. So this is the upper area. So my right is the bridge with the waterfall, the footbridge. I guess from what I gather, which is Falls Park Road, this used to be 4 lanes of I guess Main Street probably just went right over the water there. But they have redesigned and reconfigured this town. Again, with mixed opinions and slight controversy, depending on who you are, what your perspective is, what you want to see your city become. Now we're kind of in the hotel district. There's the AC Hotels. It's a Marriott property. I looked at that too. And over to my left is this, it's called the Peace Center. It's the Performing Arts Center. A tour guide I'm not, but I guess I'm trying to add a little flavor to my experience here. What to remember if I ever want to come back. The corner of Court and Main, and there's the Westons right there. This is kind of a brick square, a brick intersection. I bet you this looks gorgeous in the fall because there are big trees with no leaves on them. I see all sorts of towns when I'm traveling in varying states of rise and fall, decay and prosperousness. This looks like a very prosperous town. It's alive and well. For Sunday morning, there seems to be a lot of people out just enjoying their walks or coffee. There's just back-to-back restaurants here.
So I was noticing some of these videos on YouTube like these walking tours and driving tours. Very minimal editing and just basically travel footage. Getting thousands of views, millions of views. Maybe that's a thought for the future. Anyway, I'm driving out of town here, and I just wanted to show you I spent a lot of time in this area here, down around the waterfall. But as I was leaving town, this was the route that I was on right here. And again, I barely scratched the surface of this place. I mentioned before, if it was a town that I thought I could live in, and I don't know, kind of looking for a place that, not necessarily in a town like this, but really close to a town like this, if that makes sense. Greenville has a population of about 70,000, just for the record, compared to where I live, which has around 130,000. And I don't really have too much more information to offer other than on the next episode, we'll kind of do a little bit of a wrap up. Last day in South Carolina and maybe a wrap up of the season before we head off into, what is it, season 8 now? Anyway, we'll take this drive out to some music, a little driving jazz, as we drive out of Greenville. As always, I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for being here. And as always, there'll be more on all of this later.